Let's dive right in. There's this hidden connection in our food chain, a kind of silent danger that links the farm to the pharmacy in a way you've probably never even thought about. And today, we're going to unpack that exact connection.
Yeah, I know. It sounds like a weird question, doesn't it? But what if I told you the answer might literally be sitting on your dinner plate tonight? We're going to connect those dots and show you exactly how our everyday meals are tied to one of the biggest, and I mean biggest, medical challenges of our time.
So, where does this all start? Well, it begins with what you could call the silent danger. It's this super common practice in modern farming, but it has these huge, often invisible consequences for all of us. Okay, check this out, because the scale of this is just wild. When you think antibiotics, you probably picture a prescription from your doctor, right? But this chart shows something pretty startling. The vast, vast majority, we're talking about 3/4 of all antibiotics used globally, aren't for people. Nope, they're for the animals we raise for food.
So you gotta ask, why? Why on earth are we using such insane amounts? Well, it all comes down to the living conditions. In a lot of modern factory farms, you've got massive numbers of animals packed into really tight spaces. And that kind of crowding, it's just the perfect recipe for disease to spread like wildfire. So the antibiotics get used as this kind of preventative shield.
But here's the real kicker. It's not just that they're used, it's how they're used. This isn't about a vet giving a shot to one sick cow or chicken. Not at all. It's a full-on strategy of mass medication. Basically, it's antibiotics for all.
And this really breaks it down. On one side, you've got what we think of as normal medicine, right? Treating one single animal that's actually sick. But on the other side, that's mass prevention. That's where the medication is mixed right into the food and water for the entire herd, day in and day out, whether they're sick or not. It's a huge difference.
So there are really two main reasons for doing this. First, like we just said, is to stop diseases from ripping through those crowded farms. But there's a second reason, and it's all about the economics. Turns out, in many cases, these antibiotics also make the animals grow faster. And that, of course, makes the whole operation more efficient and more profitable.
All right, this is where the story takes a really dangerous turn. Think about it. This constant, low-level exposure to antibiotics across millions and millions of animals. It creates the absolute perfect storm. It's like an evolutionary nightmare, and it leads directly to the birth of the superbug.
So what even is a superbug? It sounds like something out of a comic book, but it's totally real. It's just a simple way of saying these are bacteria that have literally evolved to survive our best weapons against them. They become resistant to a whole bunch of different antibiotics, and that means the infections they cause can be incredibly hard, or in the worst cases, just plain impossible to treat.
Okay, so here's how it gets from the farm to you. Step 1. All that antibiotic use creates an environment where only the toughest, most resistant bacteria can survive. The superbugs. Step 2. Those superbugs don't just stay put. They can contaminate meat during processing or even get into our water systems. And the final link in that chain? That's when we get exposed.
And here's the bottom line, the part that really matters. The consequences are really, really serious. A routine infection, something a standard prescription would have knocked down no problem a few decades ago. Well, that can suddenly become a life-threatening crisis when it's caused by a resistant superbug.
Now, I know this all sounds pretty bleak, right? But it's not a hopeless situation. There is a way out of this trap.
So that leads to the big question. How do we actually break this dangerous cycle? If the whole problem starts on the farm, how do we stop creating these superbugs at their source?
Well, what's interesting is that the best solutions aren't about inventing some new miracle drug. It's actually about changing the whole system that created the problem. We're talking about a return to more humane, less crowded farming practices and an overall reduction in the total number of livestock. If it changed the environment, you get rid of the need for all that mass medication in the first place. And that brings us right back to where we started. The fight against one of our biggest public health crises isn't just happening in labs and hospitals. It's happening on farms. And it raises a critical question about our own role in this system. Does the solution start on our plates? It's definitely something to think about.